All right, here we are.
Yeah,
Welcome, welcome.
we're
It
ready.
is Wednesday, February 28th. This is the Left Coast Live. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined as always by the one and only stateless patriot. What is happening, my man?
It's just been a crazy ass week. I've been fighting. I'm just now getting over just this insane depression that I've been going through. It's been really bad. It's a lot of shit. If I had to like summarize it, it's like your illusions of how people are, how they behave, and all that being shattered, because everybody puts on a front, and me, I like to see I choose to see the best in people, and time again over the years, like it just bit me in the ass.
Too
So
nice?
yes, that's always been my fucking issue.
Yeah, you're too nice.
Yeah, but I mean, it's happened to me multiple times, and it happened to me again recently, and um, I just kind of basically sort of spiraled because like I kind of hated that I was like a fool like once again like wow like I really misinterpreted this whole thing, and then like all of a sudden you start seeing all the red flags with these people and whatnot, and yeah, it's hard to reconcile sometimes. But
You
I'm here right now. I'm feeling better. A lot of people reached out to me, and I've gotten a whole lot of support, so I'm actually feeling a lot better because it's easy to forget just how much support you actually have.
Yeah, social media is a beautiful thing, especially for you young guns in your 20s where everybody grew up with it and it's like a part of life.
Right.
Like you just, you
Yeah.
don't matter. I know I have plenty of friends, especially older friends that are just, checked out of social media. They're just like, there's no way. I myself have not
I envy
posted on
them.
Instagram. Like I've done stories, but I haven't done one of those permanent posts on Instagram since I got my puppy, my first
Yeah.
puppy a couple years ago.
Right.
Because I just don't care.
Right.
I just don't care. But it's
Yeah.
nice that you were in a tough spot and that people did reach out to you and lift you, give you some positive vibes. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. In like a good amount of time like away from just constantly posting on whatever social media it is. Like, it does help a lot, and like I even noticed like it's just like it's more than like uh just seeing like what's posted on social media and whatnot. It's more than just engaging like with randos or seeing dumb things. It's even like day to day shit too. Like obviously I work two jobs. I come across all kinds of people, and in the cities I actually work in, there's just dumps. I don't like it, and so like interacting with people who really just don't seem to like have a clue. People that are just kind of like on autopilot at all times. It's like it's disappointing, because um, there's a lot of people that don't really like engage with anything like on like a real deep, critical, thoughtful level, and that
No.
and that was starting to like really get to me too, like even more than like the social media thing, like just the monotony of it all. But
Well, I talk about it in one of my episodes. I say that I don't think there is such a thing as stupid, right? Sometimes the neurons in the brain just don't fire as quickly for some as they do for others. But I think
right.
more often than not, when we think of someone as stupid, it's actually because they simply don't think enough or they haven't been trained on how to think critically.
Sure.
And you're getting into just the robots, man, the people going through the motions, the people who
Exactly.
are just spend their lives. That's a big problem with conservatives. They just continually reacting and reacting and reacting. They never take a pause and reflect on everything that's happened and see if they want to try things differently. It's like, no, we're going to keep
Yeah.
doing it this way because this is the way my daddy did it and this is the way his daddy did it, and we're
Yeah.
defending our family and our pride and everything simply by oh no, I'm wondering if can you test to see if I'm live, by the way?
Just tradition. Let me look you up real quick, Dieter.
I don't think I'm live. No, I'm not live. I'm only
No,
live on yours.
no, you're live.
That's okay. I am?
Yeah, you're live. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Just pull
Great.
it, pull it up. You're good. You're good to go.
All right, great. Thank you. Well, we got some people in. And anyway, yeah, so my daddy did it this way. I'm going to do it this way. It's all defense of like it's narcissism. It really is. It's that it has to be about me and my family. Whereas immigrants come here and they're looking to fit in and
Yeah.
they're looking for opportunities to take jobs. And a lot of jobs that people who were born here don't want.
Right.
So I think if we, the Vanguard guys do a really good job on immigration. And one of the bigger points that they make is, we always have a big influx of immigrants. We always have a big pipeline of input of, I will call them unskilled laborers because I do believe there is such a thing as unskilled labor.
Oh,
You know,
really?
yeah,
I
yeah, I think so.
I'd love to hear your you expand on that a little bit. Like I mean, like if you're, I mean, sure, like if you're able-bodied, then like if the task is simple, like it doesn't really take much skill to do it as long as like you're able-bodied. Is that like basically like the extent of it, or?
I just think like taking a dog for a walk is unskilled labor. I mean,
Sure.
obviously it's a level. It's a level. Again, here we are caught in this false binary of it's got to be skilled or unskilled when it's actually levels of skill. Where there's
Sure.
like level one, which is just being a moving guy for a moving company,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
like
like
a
moving
guy at the
furniture.
grocery store or the guy at the grocery store packing your groceries. That's level one, And then,
Sure.
you go up and up and up. Like level two is probably like your cable guy or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
the point is that the framing is wrong. The framing is always wrong. Always look at the framing whenever you get caught into any of these intellectual contests with conservatives.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. Like, and those like excuse me, I wouldn't say they're like unskilled jobs as much as just like low skill, because like if you can be efficient at those jobs, but in the end like it's a really simple job with very simple tasks, jobs that like can actually like have the potential to be automated away in the near future. So like I definitely see where you're coming from on that.
I respect the hell out of people who do those jobs because I'm fortunate enough to not have a job where I just do the same thing every day. I get to do
Right.
something different, every day, which is really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like I'm
I
grateful
rem-
that my like primary job is like I'm always experiencing something new, even though it's like the same tasks and whatnot.
right,
There's always something new to come across. Like as like a
right.
service technician, like in that like field, that industry, for sure.
So, what else is going on, man? You want to talk about these nut job Christian nationalists down at Cpac real quick?
Yeah, that's always fun. Let's go ahead and knock that out real quick.
Okay. All right, let's do it because it won't take long. It's really just this one
Okay.
moment here.
Welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will.
Oh
We
my
will
God!
endeavor
Wait! So
to
they're
get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
That's
okay.
right. because
Okay,
all
wait,
glory,
wait.
All glory is not to
Quick.
government. All glory to God.
Oh wow.
That's it, man.
Okay,
That's
so
all we really need to say.
so like they're just like being like completely straight up with it now, huh? They're just being completely like
It's mask off. It's mask off. Yeah.
Jesus. Like
Yeah.
literally. Oh, it's Jack
Yeah,
the
this guy.
Soviet.
This right
This
here.
motherfucker.
Well-
Okay. Yeah, the guy
You know who he is?
Yeah, he lives on Twitter. Fucking like that. He like rents a fucking lot on Twitter and he's there like fucking every waking minute of the day. Yeah, this clown. This fascist alt-righter piece of shit.
Yeah, I don't like him. I don't like him one bit.
No,
But
not at
anyway,
all.
yeah, this mask off. I mean, there was tons. There was actually like legitimate
Actual
Nazis.
there. Yep.
Yeah, there were Nazis
Yep.
there. I mean, it's like I dragged my feet, and I noticed that Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball did for a little while. I don't know if
Yep.
the term has come up recently, but it's just straight up Nazis. I
It
mean,
literally
this is not
yeah.
complicated. This is the comparison is completely legitimate. It is completely fair, and it's about it. I
Oh,
think
hey.
the only way things are gonna What's up?
My
We got the dog. We got my dog. My dogs are coming in.
oh, they're dogs. My dad actually joined the chat. He says, "Good evening, gents. They are getting rid of the self checkouts in Reading Walmart due to retail theft." Interesting.
Oh, imagine that. They're getting rid of self checkout at Walmart. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, like well, so like at my Walmart, we actually have self checkout lines as well, but they're always monitored by like Walmart employees and whatnot. So like if someone needs help, like there's a couple people there that'll be like, okay, so this is how you do it, and this and that, or do you need bags, or oh hey, there's a free one over here. So yeah, that's interesting, Dad, for sure. Um,
Always nice to have family support, man.
yeah,
Always nice to
yeah,
have
yeah,
family
yeah.
support.
This is like one of the first times I'm actually like interacting with him like live on stream or like within any of my videos. Honestly, it's been a while, but yeah, no. So was that like was this like a common theme like throughout Cpac, like just people getting up there and just like repeating exactly what Jack Posobiec was saying, or
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it was that there was also that gay sellout guy. I can't remember his name.
Milo,
Um, no, the other
the
guy.
PayPal guy?
Maybe no, I can't remember.
Well,
No, he's been a political operative for a really long time. I can't remember his name. I hate him so much. I've tried to forget
Dave
about him.
Rubin.
No, it wasn't Dave
Okay,
Rubin.
those
No,
are the,
he,
those are the
this is establishment RNC guy with white hair, kind of chubby,
okay.
tall.
Yeah. Well, those are the only three like notable gay Republicans I can think of.
No, the one I want to take to an MMA fight is Charlie Kirk.
Oh
Because
God.
because
punchable
he's bigger than me. Like, yeah, Charlie Kirk is bigger than me, so it would look kind of fun, I think,
Yeah.
if I were to actually fight him, because it would look like he should win,
Right.
he wouldn't.
Right.
So because I have a lot more rage in me than he does. I know he's pretty
Yeah.
rageful, but I've seen him run, and he is not an athletic guy.
Mm.
I love you gotta love it when those super tall dudes are just awkward and lanky and really just
Like
you
me.
know, they say tall, dark, and handsome, but he's not.
No, literally me.
Kinda-
Like I'm 6'1", and I'm a clumsy fuck for sure. Like yeah. So I totally get it. But yeah, no, he's a giant piece of shit for sure.
Yeah, I mean he's a Nazi. Another one.
Dad
Goebbels.
Dad says Milo flew off the rails. Couldn't agree more. We covered him a couple streams ago. Like yeah, he's
Hasn't Milo always been off the rails?
oh big time. Yeah, but he was actually he was a bit more. He used to be more convincing and charismatic, and now he just like toes the extremist line. Like we saw with that Christian nationalist debate against Destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wild fucking guy for sure.
Yeah, I all right, so that's Confederate Christian nationalism
being,
is something
like,
I keep trying to.
Yeah, scary,
I keep trying
terrifying
to. I keep
as
trying
usual.
to. But here we are though. Like, where are the left's war drums? Where are the left wing war drums? I don't hear them.
So
You know
like,
what I mean? And it's kind of hard to
right.
do it. It's hard to do it with Biden as the head of the whole thing, right? It's
Yeah.
hard to bang the war drums with that as our general.
Not to mention, like there's just focus on so many other things. Like it when it comes to like, yeah, Milo was amusing. Yeah. When it comes to the left right now, a lot of the focus is when it comes to CPAC in particular. Like we just write that off. Like it's just a gathering of a bunch of loonies. Like it's nothing really to like even pay any mind to. Like I think like the head of the fucking CPAC or whatever, like a year or so ago, was like outed as like a fucking predator, or whatever, and like that was like the last notable thing about it. Like I think Trump spoke at the last one, and that was pretty much it. Like of course this year, like of course that because it's notable, literal fucking Nazis showing up and like just like
Yeah.
unapologetic. It's just like
Yeah.
and this is like the Conservative Political Action Committee, who, like it's fucking like it's scary, but it's also not even surprising at all.
Yeah, I think for those of us who have been paying attention, and know our history, we saw this coming after Trump got elected.
Yeah,
And
they were
we always knew
emboldened.
this subculture. We always knew this subculture existed. We just didn't know how big and how broad it was. And I think, obviously, Trump just brought them out of the woodwork. And this has always been the party of the KKK. This has always been the party of the Proud Boys and who's another hate group. I
Or
mean,
like the
the list.
three percenters. Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, and because on one hand, you obviously want to counter the rhetoric of CPAC and whatnot, and like, but also on one hand, you don't want to give them any attention. You don't want to pay them any mind because they don't deserve the attention. They don't deserve being taken seriously because you can't take
Okay,
these clowns seriously.
so I think what is needed right now, okay, from the left is obviously someone to step up and like this
Yeah,
is really when we need someone decent at VP because
yeah.
this is a time when the right is divided. We don't appreciate it, but the right is actually
They
divided
really
right
are
now.
big time. It's a
And this is
shit
an
show.
opportunity to put them away, and we're going to miss it because this 80-year-old won't get out of the damn way.
Yep.
And I feel horrible for the guy.
Yeah, and
I
it's
mean,
like Kamala Harris.
it's elder
is,
abuse.
Yeah,
It's like elder abuse at this point.
completely. Yeah, and Kamala Harris is not the fucking answer. Not worth being the next in line for sure. I do think because my dad's brings up a good question. Whose party is it now? Who's going to represent the future of the Democratic Party? Like I don't think the Democratic Party is left wing by any means, but
No.
like it's not going to be Kamala. I mean, obviously, me and you have floated the idea of Newsom stepping in. There have been people that have been like begging, like at the Democratic convention, replace Biden with Newsom, like
Yeah, everyone's
just, like,
talking about that now. You and I
yeah,
were talking about that months ago. We were talking about that before people were talking about it.
yeah.
But no,
I
I
mean,
think
it's not even
Newsom
like it's not even like my preference at all. Like clearly, I would much rather have someone more progressive and not establishment like Newsom is because he's not like the greatest figure on the Democratic side in the world, you know. But like
Mhm.
he's just the biggest name that's been floating around. And so it's like i- if if the Democratic strategy is to actually do away with Biden, then there would be a lot more noise coming from that camp. That camp that thinks, okay, Biden needs to go, someone needs to replace him. But that's just not happening. Everybody's still kind of pushing Biden. Biden's still doing his thing. He's out. He's speaking to public and whatnot. He recently said like, oh, like we might have a ceasefire by Monday, you know. So he's still like active and whatnot, but like he's not exactly addressing a whole lot of things that need to be addressed. It doesn't seem like there's a lot more. It doesn't seem like there's enough attention being put towards these things, like it's like the CPAC shit, or just how unhinged the Republican Party has become, for example.
The left needs a bulldog. We need someone out front that doesn't give a shit
I couldn't agree
about
more.
what people say about them. All he does or all she does is talk shit about conservatives. Hey,
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is what she said recently. This is what that white trash dumbass has to say. Just so you know, I'm going to pay attention to her Twitter so that you don't have to. Check in with me once a
Yeah,
week or whatever.
yeah.
Like something like that.
I'm so
I mean,
sick of, like,
AOC was the one. Everybody thought that AOC was going to kind of be like that, and
too nice.
I don't know.
Too nice. Like she's
Yeah.
really fucking smart and she could really get her like points across whenever she is like put on mainstream media for like a little interview. Like she will concisely lay out like the issue and whatnot and like the points and what needs to be said, and does it very fucking eloquently. But she's not going to be the one to like fling mud or rub dirt on on anybody in particular, and so it's like, yeah, that in that aspect it's a little frustrating that Democrats don't play as dirty as the Republicans do all the time. They all they care about is civility politics, and they still believe that bipartisanship is a worthwhile cause, not understanding how extreme the right has become.
Yeah. I just lost my train of thought, but I was thinking about I had a kind of I'll be interested to hear what you think of this because it's a little sideways. You and I, as mentioned, you and I were talking about doing the convention switcheroo for Biden, probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
What about instead of Newsom, they went with Gretchen Whitmer as president and Gavin Newsom as VP? Now, here's why I like this. You dodge the feminist issue because
Sure.
they're gonna look like such old school assholes
Yeah.
for stepping over the half Indian, half black woman
Right.
to get to the pedigreed professional,
White guy. Yeah.
playboy kind of.
He really. Yeah.
I mean, he has the vibe of like a West Coast wannabe
I
James
actually,
Bond.
okay, so this is just anecdotal and it's based on secondhand information. But I had a friend, I'm still, I mean, we're not really in touch, but I had this friend. She lives out in San Francisco, and she had like a first-hand experience with Gavin Newsom, and basically confided in me how much of a dog he actually kind of is, like personally in real life, So yeah, it. I actually okay, so I mean that's just an aside, but I actually do kind of like that idea because I mean I don't know much about Gretchen Whitmer. I haven't really seen much of her at all, so I don't really know how charismatic and engaging she is. But when it comes to the actual future of the Democratic Party, because my dad's actually asked about it, so who's next? He asks. Um, that will probably be the future. The Democratic Party would have to push a woman, and if that means Gavin Newsom is the VP, that works for me. I don't have an issue with that. So but on my end, I just don't know much about Gretchen Whitmer. But I think that would be
It doesn't matter.
The future.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything about what she stands for. I mean, yeah, she's not.
Yeah,
she's not a progressive.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter.
They didn't give a shit about Kamala Harris's credentials. She's completely awful. She was an awful senator. She was an awful attorney general, and they propped her up anyway because I guess they just need to check a couple inclusivity boxes or whatever. It's like she is completely unremarkable as a vice president, and sparred with Biden on the debate stage early on in the primaries. And
yeah, that's whatever. I mean,
yeah,
that's always a good story. There was that moment between Obama and
moment.
Hillary that everybody loves to talk about. It's it's just good. It goes with the territory. I will, if I ever see Obama in person, I will tell him one of the biggest mistakes you ever made was appointing Hillary Clinton as your Secretary of State.
Yeah.
That was an absolutely huge mistake.
Horrendous.
You teed her up to be the next in line, no matter what. 8 years later, and she got it. She was forced down our throats in 2016 because it was her turn, and we got Trump.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, a big theme of all of this is don't be nice anymore. It's okay to be boring, but don't be nice.
Right.
Go ahead.
Do you think Gavin Newsom would actually? I mean, because this is the thing. Everybody likes even the Democratic establishment actually tends to like him. But do you think he would give up his governorship of California to pursue the presidency,
Absolutely.
or what about just for vice president though? Because you mentioned like Gretchen Whitmer being like the actual candidate, like or like
He
a potential.
probably. I think it would be. I don't think he would be vice president. I don't
Right,
know who would be.
right.
I don't think that would actually happen. That
Yeah,
would look a little weird.
yeah.
I
He
mean, they're touting
wouldn't
him.
be
They're
sold.
touting him. I think it would
Yeah.
probably be Gretchen Whitmer as VP. You got to get Kamala out of there. I don't know how you do it, but she just sucks. I tell you, the personality Kamala has, and it's really tragic because she had an office actually right across the street from my old office. It wasn't too far from LAX,
Oh,
and I remember her outside like shaking hands, and it was just her. She was just had some time on her hands, I guess, and thought she would go out to the street and shake hands. And
oh,
I
really?
remember looking at her. I remember looking at her and being like, "You look really familiar. Like, are you the?" I looked over to the sign, and then I saw it was her, and then I just kept walking.
Honestly, that would be
And I
my,
couldn't care. I couldn't care less. I was
yeah.
like, I have,
That
you
would
seem
be
like you have some talent here, but you're really
sure.
not that impressive. You are a disappointment. You are
Yeah,
a disappointment.
that would be my reaction too. It's like, I mean, I could point to like the various things she did as Attorney General, but like, is it even worth it? Like, would it even be worth it to like just point out like her just lackluster, shitty record? I mean,
That's not the standard of excellence anymore in American
no,
politics. The
yeah,
standard
yeah.
of excellence in American politics, as far as the left goes, is beating the right. It doesn't matter what you stand for. Gavin Newsom went back on his Medicare for All promise. Like, he decided to completely bail on that. He's bailed on a lot of other things. Like, I have mixed feelings about him. I think if I met him in person, I think he and I would actually get along pretty well. But he's a little bit like Obama in that he's a people pleaser. He
Yeah.
doesn't want to. I don't. I'm. He talks about going on offense. Going on offense. I'm like, well, what does that actually look like? What does that sound like? What do you want people to start saying?
Yeah.
How do you want Californians in blue areas to treat other MAGA trash? Like, let's get some advice here. Are we going to war? Are we saying that, hey, you come
MAGA
to
seems to
LA?
think so.
I how many times does Steve Bannon need to tell us that we are at war for us to actually believe? Stay tuned for my next couple episodes.
Right. Yeah.
But seriously, like he has the global economy at his fingertips because that's what the California is. California is the American economy. The American economy is the global economy. Ergo, California is the global economy.
Where
It's where
very
I got into a fight. I got into a fight with some Canadians recently, and they were all, hating on us. And I'm like, hey, there's a lot to hate about the U.S., but you cannot deny our supremacy, economically speaking. I mean, I don't like it. I don't think it's the way it should be, but I just objectively know that the economic engine of the entire planet is intellectual property. And
yeah.
intellectual property comes out of Hollywood, and it comes
Silicon
out
Valley.
of Silicon Valley,
Yeah.
and it comes out of Seattle, Washington. I know that's not part of, but hey, we're on the left coast, right?
Yeah,
This is
the
the
left
left
coast,
coast
yep.
mafia.
Yeah.
So here we go. So we got we got the nerds. See, that's what I want to like. I really want to have a voice that someone that's going to stand up for the nerds. Someone that's going to stand up because all these have you ever met a climate change scientist? Have you ever met like these computer geeks? They're all very introverted and conflict averse.
No, of course. Yeah, like completely. In real life, I haven't, but like I've definitely engaged with a couple like online for sure. Um, but yeah, you're right. Like this is like California itself is a powerhouse economy. Like the global economy really does rely on a lot of what we, excuse me, a lot of what we produce to for like economic growth, for lack of a better term. Like the trade that we provide and our
Well, the
technological
platform that we're
advancements.
on right now, I mean, YouTube is an integral part of the alphabet mafia. They got to, I mean, I don't hope, we'll talk about, I think in general terms, okay, I'm going to be safe here. In general terms, these companies and conglomerates are becoming too powerful.
I
I've
agree.
got a good solid WhatsApp chain going on.
Yeah.
And this recent Gemini AI with all of the people of color that are in Nazi uniforms and stuff like that. Did you see that?
Insane, like yeah,
The
yeah.
Gemini
I
thing.
did see that. Yeah, yeah. The advancement of AI is actually starting to get
So
a level of disturbing.
one of my friends who's very tech savvy made a very good point. He's like, "Look, you can slice this and dice this all the different ways, get into the cultural implications, yada yada yada." Okay, at the end of the day, the most important takeaway here is that you had one of, if not the most powerful company in the world produce something that they thought was not only market ready but perfect,
Hmm.
and it was absolutely flawed. It was egregiously flawed. And it looked, I know it looked bad. I don't believe that there was like some sort of agenda being pushed. I mean, look how ridiculous it was taken. I mean, but you know, they are engineers, and so engineers can be a little bit out of touch. So I don't know. I don't want to put anything past them.
Yeah.
But it's an unfortunate event that I hope we can learn from, because we got to stop with this, you know, but I mean, of course, it's going to get wokeified, right? Of course, it's like something like that. It's like, oh, you see, Google's pushing woke culture. Like, no, man, it's a
No,
screw up. You don't expect
and
it to come
that's
from Google,
and,
but there's a programming error.
yeah. No, that's the thing. A whole like even on Twitter or AKA X or whatnot, like they were running a lot of like chatbots via AI, and like AI just works off of what it's fed or like what's available on the internet and whatnot. So if it's repeating like woke like sentiments and whatnot, like that's just like the most readily available, like most consistent thing that most people actually agree on. But because a lot of these conservatives are like stuck in their bubble and whatnot, because they hear this like talk of inclusivity or what have you, that AI picks up on it and like comments on, for lack of a better word, it's AI or whatever. It's just an algorithm is being fed into, and it just uses whatever means is at its disposal, like the information that's available. So like if that bothers them, maybe reconsider like the information that you're consuming like day in and day out, the propaganda that you're being fed. Like obviously, yeah. I did want to get to this real quick. So my dad was actually very fond of you, commenting on your comments about Newsom and Kamala in California and whatnot. Um,
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
yeah, yeah. He did want to. Yeah, he says, "OMG, have you seen what you can do AI wise with a new iPhone?" I have not. I'm not exactly sure what he's referring to. Dad, what are you referring to? Like, we probably comment on that.
We'll
but
have to
yeah,
do some digging. That's kind of like amateur hour for us. We got to be, we'll have to do some digging and do an AI episode maybe next time,
yeah, yeah. It is
because
absolutely
that requires some.
yeah.
But my understanding is that one of the things that Matt Bender made a good point on the leftist mafia last week, I
Love
think,
him. He's great.
was that it's an inappropriate label. It's not actually intelligence. It's just a
Yeah.
task model.
So
It's a task completion model, right?
yeah, yeah. So you saw the same clip I did when they were when the leftist mafia guys, all of them, Rational National, Humanist Report, Matt Bender, Surf Times, all of them, were looking at those newly generated videos of like puppies playing in snow, or that guy that it looked like it was like a movie trailer, or that couple walking in Japan. Like that's the clip you're talking about, right? Like in his commentary
Yeah,
on
I think
that.
so.
Yeah, it
I
like
think that's right.
I mean, I kind of agree with both, because like obviously the rest of the crew was like really just mind blown, disturbed, because it looks so fucking real. Like if you told me that those were AI generated, I kind of wouldn't believe you. That's how like realistic they looked. But Matt Bender also really had the point. Like it's like AI can only be so advanced. Like the limitations are obviously what we impose on it, for lack of a better term. So it really is just uh, it's limited for lack of a better term.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a fantastic source of paranoia for right wingers.
No, I mean I'm a fucking socialist and I'm paranoid. you know.
I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it. I mean, look, the big problem that I just always keep coming back to, and it's like such a might be cliche, I don't know, but it's just true that every year populations become exponentially larger and resources become exponentially more depleted.
Hmm.
It is just a matter of time before we run out of oil, before we run out of water, before I think we're 25 to 50 years too late on all this green energy change.
Of
I think
course,
we are
obviously, yeah.
we missed the boat. I mean, I know a thing or two about offshore wind energy,
Yeah.
and they're starting to put these offshore wind turbines on the West Coast, and there's some going up on the East Coast. They actually make sense on the East Coast because the population density is so formidable,
Exactly. Big time.
especially in the corridor,
Yeah.
the Northeast corridor
Yeah,
from
like
D.C. to Boston.
exactly. No, like, and that's actually like pretty promising too. Not even just like off the coast wind turbines, but like underwater like sea turbines as well, because like underwater currents and whatnot, like actually like
Yeah,
harnessing.
they're not as productive. They're not as productive.
No, I mean like
No, they're not as productive.
I
I know you're talking about underwater currents and stuff.
Yeah. I'm not well versed in that, but I know that like obviously like these currents are they're not permanent, obviously, but they are constant. And I always thought that that would be like a significant way to harness that kind of energy, harness energy that way.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, but the truth is that with wind on water, so the relationship between wind speed and wind energy is exponential, as you would maybe guess. And I think it's something like if you have 50% more wind, which out in the ocean you usually will have at least 50% more wind,
Yeah.
you're going to end up with 275% more energy. But you might think that that's enough to offset the costs of building an offshore wind energy farm. It's
Right.
not. Offshore
Yeah.
wind energy, the per turbine, the cost per turbine is probably like 5x of what a wind turbine in the ground
Yeah.
would do. It's
Okay.
absurdly expensive. It's absurdly expensive to get. And then you've got the whole issue of the transmission cable, which is usually $1 million a mile. So it's very sophisticated.
Damn.
I see they're doing a wind farm up in San Luis Obispo, and I have to learn more about it because maybe they're doing it right. But first of all, it's a private company that
Yeah.
is leasing the grounds from the federal government. I'm like, okay, already I don't like it. And secondly, the population centers up there are not formidable. There's not a whole lot of people up there, and they've got some really great mountains. I'm like, why are they not just putting them on top of those mountains? And maybe it's more of a conservative area than I realize, and they just don't really like change. I think it looks great. I think it looks cool, and honestly, we just don't have any choice. And then there's also
Yeah.
the biggest conversation that the left needs to have with itself, which is irresponsible procreation. I mean, I talked about it in my very first episode. 70% of inmates were abused when they were kids.
Yeah.
70%. That's pretty much a causal relationship.
No,
If
for real.
you grew up getting hit and neglected and yelled at and marginalized and victimized in a million different ways and just programmed to think that you are crap and that when you screw up, when you don't get what you want, of course you're going to lash out. Of course, you're a scarred animal. You're a wounded animal.
Yeah,
And
it really is like that simple when it comes down to it. Um, and a lot of that also really stems from poverty. Like you don't have access to much. Like you don't have
yes.
much like flow of income and whatnot. Like that's
Well, I
going.
tell you what, we're talking about birth control right now. If I were running for office, I would be like, every CVS, every Walgreens, every Rite Aid, every single one of them is going to be required to have the morning after pill available for free whenever any woman who over 18 asks for it.
Yeah.
You know, like that, because that's a big thing. Like a lot of people who are anti-choice will tell you, like, oh, well, you've got the morning after pill that you can just take. Well, I'm like, well, that's not an option for everybody. Apparently,
Yeah,
it's pretty
not
expensive.
not only that, but they want to do away with that. They want to get rid of Plan B. They want to get rid of birth control. In Alabama, they think an embryo is a person now. Last time I checked, like, if you froze a baby, because that's how embryos stay alive. If you froze a baby, they stop living. I think last time I checked. So it's just like, uh, they don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about. Like the IVF, like in I think it's in vitro fertilization, whatever.
Yes.
Like that. Tuberville, Senator Tuberville, was even asked about that, and he didn't seem to have a fucking clue about like what he just voted on, or like why he even supports that Supreme Court decision, or whatever. But yeah, um, so just to switch gears, just only slightly, going back to what my dad was asking about. Um, I'll just ask it like this. Like obviously we just had some more primaries. We just had the Michigan primary and whatnot. If Trump were to go down and was no longer eligible to run, and he had no future campaign or whatnot, obviously it just comes down to Nikki Haley. So if Nikki Haley was now the front runner on the Republican side, who do you think she would pick for her VP? My dad seems to think it would be Tim Scott, and I kind of agree.
Double South Carolina.
Yeah, no,
Interesting.
that would make like the most sense. Like especially.
The whole "we're not racist" play. Look,
Right,
we're not racist.
God, right, exactly, yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
it would seem to make the most sense to me,
yeah, why not? I mean, it's a Hail Mary of a play at that point if Nikki Haley is your candidate. I mean,
Yeah,
so anything
and
goes. And the Republican Party is much wilder than the Democratic Party. So I wouldn't put it past them doing something like that.
right,
They could do it,
yeah,
but
and
Trump's got to go down first.
they seem to be um like somewhat popular with like Republican moderates, especially Tim Scott, for whatever reason. I don't know. Like Nikki Haley herself like holds a lot of actually like extremist positions, especially on foreign policy. And I don't know, like Tim Scott seems like impassioned, but he didn't really like say anything that was like really notable or
So he's a connected
interesting.
guy. He comes from a
Yeah,
prominent black family in
yeah.
South Carolina, prominent political family. Sorry, it's an Uncle Tom family.
I mean,
Welcome to the party. Welcome to America, guys. It's real. It's a
yeah.
real thing.
Ultimately, that's really it. Really is what it comes down to. Like because he has connections. Because he wasn't really like cap like. I'm trying to find the right word. Like he wasn't saying anything new if that makes sense, I guess. Like just towing the Republican like party
Well,
line
he went
and
after
rather than
Nikki
whatnot.
Haley for like some curtains in an office or
Yeah,
something.
like
It
what
was
the hell was
stupid.
that? Like what? Like
He's incompetent. He's incompetent. He
yeah,
has, I don't. That's why. That's
that's
why I
the gist I
probably
get from him.
think that it
Yeah.
probably won't. That's the problem. That's the thing why I think it probably won't be Tim Scott is because he is so incompetent, and she's not gonna be like Trump where she's worried that someone's gonna outshine her. She's gonna want someone that's actually gonna like have her back and maybe help her. So
Right. I
I
mean,
don't know, but I don't. It doesn't feel like
it
Tim
might
Scott's
be.
her best option.
Well, I agree, but like she might just be picking him like out of I guess convenience politically because that's exactly what Joe Biden did with Kamala Harris. Like you wouldn't think that those two would be like a dynamic duo of sorts and lead the fucking country, but politically it would make sense. It's like because like they get the diversity. Oh, like yeah, like you said, we're not racist. But like who else would it be? Like clearly there are better options, but Tim Scott would seem to.
DeSantis.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
fun. That would be
yeah.
a
I
quite
mean,
a nice play to the women. Hey, you put a woman above a man like DeSantis. Quite a statement. I
uh,
mean, maybe the Republican Party is more progressive than we thought, and putting a woman ahead of a fucking.
as long as DeSantis gets to wear the high heels, like because he has those
Ron.
like
I
platforms
know.
where the fuck yeah yeah.
Ron de douchebag.
DeSantis and
Oh,
Newsom are in the same boat,
oh my
but 4 years
gosh.
away. Yeah, even my dad understands even like after 4 years from now, whether we get Trump or Biden, that DeSantis and Newsom are basically like next in line. Um, he's even asking, can we deal with another 4 years of Trump or Biden? I mean, we could
Biden
do.
would resign. Biden would resign right away.
Yeah,
Biden would resign.
yeah, I mean, if he didn't die first,
Yeah, if he makes it till January, yeah.
I, I, I mean, like with the whole like Gaza situation and the mission.
Obama, this is really. I've been thinking about this. This is really on Obama. This is really on Obama to step the
It
fuck
really
up.
is.
It's really all
Yeah,
on him. I was thinking about this. I'm like,
yeah,
what am I missing? What like let's get real here, right? Okay. If
yeah,
someone's listening, Obama, you gotta step up, man. Barack, the shock,
yeah.
you gotta step up. Get down to the White House and tell your old buddy who would not be president right now if it weren't for you.
No kidding.
You have an obligation to get
Yeah.
down there and not leave
Hmm.
until he promises to resign or
Yeah.
at least get switched out
I'm.
at the convention.
Yeah. Like, if anything would if anyone would be like convincing in that regard, that could actually convince him to do it. Yeah, resign before the actual convention. Like, it would be Obama. But the thing is, like, I don't think that will happen. I don't. If anything, like if Obama was to step in, and I think he should, it would be to just like steer Joe Biden on a better path because obviously he's hemorrhaging the youth vote and the Arab American vote. I mean, votes from people of color in general because of his stance on Gaza right now, because of his consistent downplaying or just ignorance of Israeli war crimes in Gaza. So, like, if he actually took the time to like hear people out and actually change course on our foreign policy towards Gaza, stop sending them aid, stop sending them money, stop sending them weapons, call for a ceasefire, stop fucking uh, vetoing ceasefire deals at the fucking UN Security Council and whatnot, then you might actually have a better chance of beating Trump, like because it's dire right now, like and neither him nor his staff seem to be like grasping the gravity of that because like people are threatening their votes. 100,000 voters in Michigan literally voted uncommitted in the primary
Yeah, I saw that.
when they were expecting only 10 or 20,000. You know,
Yeah, I saw
like
that.
like this is a big fucking deal, and like slowly but surely, a lot of the mainstream media and the Biden White House, a lot of its aides, a lot of its staff who have been aware of it for a long time, are slowly waking up to this. Like this is a big deal. 35,000 civilians have been slaughtered by Israel so far, and that's only 92% of the total people killed, but that's 92% civilian casualties, and 14,000 of them are children, and
Yeah.
countless I'm going on my spiel about this because this is kind of pretty much all I fucking post about on Twitter, but like there are countless clips out there of just the most inhumane, abhorrent, abysmal, like inexplainable shit that's happening to these children and to innocent people in Gaza, and it will cost Joe Biden 2024 unless he changes his current course, because a lot of like you're not going to get that. You're going to lose Michigan. He's already behind in countless swing states to begin with, so something needs to change in that regard.
I think Gretchen Whitmer is a good solution to the Michigan problem.
Yeah, no, for real.
No, I think Gavin Newsom
But
and
I
Gretchen
think
Whitmer for VP would be the perfect choice.
I,
The problem is we're so far away from the convention. I wish the
Yeah.
convention were next week.
yeah, a lot can
If the
change.
convention were next week, then things would be great.
Yeah.
What we could do is we could have Biden resign now, Kamala take over, and then come up with an excuse to get rid of her at the convention. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't.
Or Gavin as VP, Kamala as president, Gavin as VP, a full California ticket. Wow, that'd be a loser. They would get. I think they could work. I think they could. They would lose Trump.
It would be. Yeah. I mean, it'd be lame, but I mean, even generic Democrats, quote unquote, according to some polls, fares better against Trump than Biden does, honestly. And not to mention, I don't even think, I think if I remember correctly, Gretchen Whitmer even came out in opposition to the uncommitted campaign in Michigan, and even tried to garner support for Biden, play him up a little bit, in the face of that movement that was happening. So even so, if Biden were to be replaced, they would have to take a stance that requires an immediate ceasefire, obviously a release of the hostages, and and see where it goes from there, I suppose, because obviously there's multiple different steps that can be taken after that, but aid needs to get into Gaza, and there needs to be no no fighting from the Israeli side, no bombing or anything like that, so that way these people in Gaza can stop dying. People are dying of hunger. People are dying of thirst. There's no medical supplies. There are people being there are amputations going on without anesthesia. People are being babies are being left to die in incubators because there's the power goes out. There's no way to take care of them. It's
hell on earth.
It's literally
It's hell on
I
earth.
couldn't even begin to imagine literally, and all the things are coming out about it. My dad says, yeah, the reason we are in bed with Israel is strategic only, and I completely agree. It really is because
The relationship goes
Yeah.
back 70
of
years.
course,
I
we
mean.
just need to have that foothold in the Middle East because we wanted to do shit in Iraq. We wanted to do shit in Afghanistan. If we had an ally in the region, that plays into excuse me, that plays into it a little bit. It's yeah. But ultimately, though, it
I don't know.
is.
Saudi Arabia is a pretty big ally.
Oh God, I mean, yeah. Them
What an
them as
interesting
well.
relationship that is.
No kidding. Yeah, there's enough oil reserves there to last us centuries, but at what cost? I think Vosh had a really great point about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is not a country. It's a bunch of oligarchs stacked up in a trench coat.
Yeah, pretty much. It's one 5,000 men in one family that control everything.
No
And there's
kidding.
really only a handful in that, but that's there's 5,000 princes or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a part of the world, man. I would like to see someday, I guess, but I got a lot of other places that
Sure.
I would rather go to China. I would
Yeah.
rather go to I'd rather go to anywhere in Asia before I go to the Middle East.
No kidding. I would love to go.
I'd love to see Russia. I want to go skiing in Russia, man.
That'd
What
be
an
cool.
amazing place. Russia's supposed to be beautiful. People don't
Yeah.
understand about World War II, about how the Germans and Hitler, they were obsessed with Russia. Like that conflict went back hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And there was this obsession by the Germans of getting Russia, and they obviously the war on the Eastern Front came down to, the 7 miles or whatever it was shy of
Yeah.
Moscow.
Yeah.
So every American needs to know that. Every American needs to know that.
No,
And I talk about that. That's when I'm breaking down my episodes. There's that bit that you covered about World War II with dropping the bomb. I think it was in that 50-minute. Remember that 50-minute episode that I have? That's a long one. It's like the self-serving superficiality of conservative cognition.
Yeah. Like I said, your videos are absolutely brilliant. I do really like that idea that we can actually go forward with, like actually pursue actual segments on things that every American should know. And I do believe that like every American should learn about uh, just World War II in general, whether it be like the
We
rise
could do
of
a list
Hitler.
right now. Let's turn it into a brainstorming session, okay? I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll give one, and you give one. All right? Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Everybody should know something. Everybody should know something about Andy Warhol. I don't know anything about him except for the tomato cans. I want to know, but I want to know more. I don't understand him. I don't know why. He was a freak. Like I watched the movie, with Guy Pearce who played him or whatever, in like The Working Girl, I think it was.
I know that
But,
he was like fundamental to like psychedelia in general in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, dealing with like the mundaneness of life or whatever, his whole comment.
Right.
I don't pretend to understand it. That's one of those things. I can't wait to listen to someone who knows more about that because I know that there's an entertaining way to sell Andy Warhol to pop culture today. I just don't know how you do it because he's such an interesting guy. He had his weird look and everything. Anyway, Andy Warhol's mine. You go.
Stalingrad.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
The biggest battle.
The biggest battle of World War II. The Germans and Hitler thought they were just the hottest shit, and like the literal only fucking reason that they even attempted to try to take Stalingrad is because it had Joseph Stalin's name on it, and
Yeah, I know.
they wanted to embarrass the Russians.
It was just Hitler. His generals didn't.
It was
if
just ego.
Hitler,
It was just ego. It's all it came down to.
But it was specifically Hitler's ego because he
Yeah.
actually had generals. A lot of historians argue that if Hitler had just done the politics and he had trusted the military operations to his generals,
Yeah.
not only would they have like gotten to Moscow, but they would have at least gotten through France and maybe stopped at Britain. But yeah, the hubris. They had all that early success and they had that red hot military. And they're like, oh man, we're cooking with gas. And they, were all hopped up on meth or whatever it was. They took like
Literally.
The Adderall of that day.
Yeah, no, like actually, yeah, they and that's where a lot of the blitzkriegs came from. A lot of Germans would just be so hopped up on that shit, like and they would just literally plow through fucking cities in France, and that's how they took it within fucking however long it took. But yeah, no, because Hitler wanted to just impose himself on every aspect of the war and didn't just leave it up to his commanders. He kind of he just fucked himself, and good good thing too, obviously, but yeah.
Well, the Russians were just throwing bodies at him. I mean,
No
if he had
kidding.
just said,
Yeah.
if they had just said, I'm not going to go to Moscow, I'm not going to go to invade Russia, I'm just going to focus on Western Europe, and Western Europe's all going to be ours, and then we'll fortify and then build off of that success, then they could have probably gotten away with some historical land grab success there.
Yeah,
And
it would've been way
the world
worse for the region. Yeah.
but they were obsessed. It was culture. It was culture. They thought that they were racially superior to the Poles. And that's why they invaded them first, because they're their neighbor. But it was the big boys. It was like the New England Patriots going after, I guess, the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning, in his prime.
Yeah.
That's like those two giants going at it,
Yeah.
like one of those rivalries. Red Sox, Yankees. Obviously, my mind always goes to sports, but you know, Lakers,
Fair.
Celtics. Like it's
Yeah.
like they were the big boys in Europe, was the Germans and the Russians, and you got to figure that the Germans always had the inferiority complex.
Their
That's why they
overconfidence
felt
was,
they needed
yeah.
to invade it because Russia had so much land. And here's the big thing about like property on a national level. Ain't no kind of property like waterfront property.
Yeah.
Ain't no kind of value like water. And
Yeah.
when you have coastline like Russia does, contrasted to Germany, that really affects your economy.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so they were limited. But it's interesting. Germany since redeemed itself. They were talking about offshore wind. They had like 19 offshore wind farms in development, I think about 20 years ago. Maybe now a little bit less now, like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And just way ahead of the game. So and it's because they don't have much space to put the turbines, and they don't
Yeah.
have that much coast to work with. So they're like, let's just do it, and so they're
Right.
doing it. But so offshore wind is something I'm going to do an episode on because I think everybody needs to know about it,
Right.
and wind in general. But my understanding, are you smart on energy? Because my understanding is the problem with energy isn't the production; it's the transmission and the storage.
Yeah, that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like I understand it on like a layman's level, I guess you could say. But yeah, like battery capacity and finding the land and the acreage to actually pursue it. And uh, you know, obviously like setting time aside and funding aside to pursue these projects. It's definitely it can get pretty complicated, but like those are like the major roadblocks when it comes to renewables and stuff like that. But in the end, it is like a worthwhile effort, because like fucking if that means like taking away from like fracking or whatever, like by all fucking means, like I'm all for it.
Well, that's one of the signs of the apocalypse is when Oklahoma becomes one giant sinkhole because of all the fracking that's taken place there. And if you look at micro level earthquakes, like a
Yeah.
map of Oklahoma over the last
Oh
like 10
yeah.
years,
No,
it's
it's all
all
fracking.
red.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
literally, like like a lot of literally man-made earthquakes, like throughout Oklahoma because of that. Yeah, and my dad says, yeah, a big issue when it comes to like a lot of renewable energy is just battery storage and just like the materials needed to like the raw materials to build them. Like I know that like for example, like our foreign policy is going to start slowly shifting towards Africa because there's a lot of fine like metals and whatnot that are required to build these batteries.
Minerals,
And
I
yeah,
believe. Yeah,
yeah,
lithium batteries stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So that's going to be a big part of the American future in foreign policy and whatnot. It's getting a lot more involved in Africa, and even and China's even gotten like a head start on this, but their approach is a lot more diplomatic. It's not so much like for example what America did with Iraq. Um, you know, uh,
Well, I think it's a second mover advantage for the Chinese because they saw how America came in after the British and really, just didn't do it right for whatever reason. I don't know enough about it, but America
sure,
screwed it up.
of
We
course,
screwed it
yeah,
up.
of
American
course.
hubris caught up with us. It was Iraq on smaller scale, different
Oh yeah,
location.
yeah.
That's the deal. Okay, so China has a lot to learn from. They watched us do it, and they could say like, "Well, we're not going to make the same mistakes the Americans did. We're going to treat these people with respect, and
Exactly.
we're going to play the long game and make sure there's going to be complete transparency on what they're getting out of it." I have no doubt the Chinese are very entrepreneurial. The Chinese are
Yeah.
have recognized or they don't treat each other like idiots,
Yeah.
and they're not. They're an intelligent, sophisticated
Completely agree.
people intellectually. Yeah.
Yeah. I think this will lead into like our next segment like perfectly, regarding Chinese buying land in the United States. Yeah, in like honestly, if only Israel could learn from our mistakes when it comes to like Iraq and shit with what they're doing, like they're threatening a ground division of Rafah and whatnot. Regardless, Yeah, I did want to talk about Joe Rogan and Dr. Phil talking about like China buying up
Yeah,
land
you
and
want to do
stuff.
that now?
Yeah, but I did need to pee real quick. So if we could, like, if you wanted to take
I'll
like
just get it going.
a 3 minute break real quick, yeah, let me, because I do need to pee.
Do you want me to play while you're going?
Um, it's just
No,
what,
because you have to listen.
yeah,
Go, just go,
right,
just
yeah,
go.
just wait till
I'll
I get back.
entertain people. I'll
Okay,
entertain people.
for
I'll
sure.
talk it
Yes,
up.
see if you get, yeah, for sure. Right, right back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the McBusiness Hour. I hope you had a wonderful February. I can't wait for this month to be over because I'm about to turn the big 4-0 next month. That's right. 4 decades on this planet, in this world, living with no regrets. Here I am, laid bare before you intellectually as a unapologetic left-wing eco-terrorist. No, just kidding, not terrorist. Stay tuned, though, because I am going to be having an environmental activist on probably tomorrow night. Aaron Mayer is his name. I will be promoting him tomorrow on social media, so be on the lookout for that. In addition, I think we might want to talk about this guy, Jake Posobiec. Posobiec? I hate it when I don't get the... here, let's go here. Share this tab instead. There you go. There he is. Look at this cheese ball. And then my favorite was the picture with this guy right here. Oh, this is just fantastic. Look at that. Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse, Charlie Kirk, and Jack Posobiec. Confederate Christian nationalism is real, y'all. That's the truth. Confederate Christian nationalism is here, and it's not going away. The only choice we have is to deal with it directly and not act as if it does not exist, like so many people would have you believe. In fact, when SP comes back, we're going to talk about another guy, maybe, who is into guy Reed Uberman, indie thinker, who talks about how Christian nationalism isn't a thing. And it's because he doesn't want it to be a thing. And he doesn't realize that it's not up to him. He doesn't get to decide. That's up to us. Let's see what happens when we image search Christian nationalism. All right, here we go. Boom. This is what Google gives you. Christian nationalism. Yeah, all right. How white Christian nationalism threatens democracy. Who's this? Georgetown University, Center on Faith and Justice. We got a reverend, PhD, another reverend, and someone who is probably pretty smart on religion. Christians against Christian nationalism. Now, those people I want to know. Those people I want to hear about. What are they up to?
All right.
Sign the Christians against Christian nationalism statement. No thanks.
My dad.
All right,
my
man.
dad says, "Congrats, happy birthday." What were we talking about?
I'm turning 40 on.
That's
I'm
right.
turning 40 in a month.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I'm
That's
pumped.
right.
Yeah, it's gonna be the big 4 decades, man. It's wild. I don't feel 40. I don't feel 40. I feel 50. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel that like I turning 29 in July, and like
Lucky bastard.
yeah, it's like I'm almost 30, and it's very unnerving, like to say the least, for sure.
I mean, dude, my 30s were way more fun than my 20s. My 20s were fun, but my 30s were way more fun.
Okay.
My early 30s were a little rocky, but then when I hit my stride, I went to Tahoe for a year, taught skiing and did a bunch of random stuff around there. It was great. That's where I worked on my first political campaign, was up in Lake Tahoe,
Nice.
California.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it was a good time. All right, here we go.
All right.
Chinese buying the Chinese government or Chinese nationals buying farmland, and I've got a map if I can find it of where they're buying this land, and it's around U.S. military installations. They're buying up land around U.S. military installations, and and so when you look at the amount of land that they're buying, it's not all that much. It's a lot of land, but given as much land as there is, it's like maybe less than 1%. But when you look
It
at it
is.
strategically around military installations, it's um, it's
Can
really
you pause it right here?
concerning.
You
And
can pause it. Yeah. So this is kind of what got me, because like obviously it's definitely one less than 1%. I mean, aside from the fact that like you're concerned that China is even doing this to begin with, like I don't understand that exactly because like
um,
what exactly does that signify? But if you look at the chart here, Chinese owned versus Canadian owned.
Canadian owned. Yeah.
That is a lot of fucking land that, according to you, according to this chart, Canada owns. Like that's like fucking like maybe 40% of all American land right there. That's lit up. Are you saying that 40% of U.S. land is owned by Canada? I don't fucking think so. I don't think that's the case. Like,
No, it's a ridiculous chart because it doesn't define its terms. Always be wary of
yeah,
charts and information where they don't define their terms. So what
of
you're looking at,
course.
I think, in that Canadian owned, that's sprinkled in. Like you see the different
Hmm.
color variations.
Yeah,
Like
it reminds me.
that's a very little property. Like there's a lot in what looks like Nevada near Reno, which I'd be
Yeah,
surprised with. Plus, I want to see a source on this.
yeah,
USDA AFIDA an annual report.
yeah.
I don't know.
I
I don't
don't.
know
Yeah,
if I,
credit. It kind of reminds me of like you know how conservatives like to post those like the maps of like the whole like the majority of the
yes.
United States just being all red, like
I'm gonna
all the
use
red
that in an
counties and whatnot.
episode. I'm gonna use that in an episode at some point. It's beautiful.
Yes,
Like, and then yeah, we're supposed to be a blue country, and all it is the cities that are blue, and the rest of the country's red.
yeah, and then it's like you adjust the population density of all those counties versus all the blue counties, and all those red ones, all the red across the map, they fucking disappear. And like you see some red blips here and there, but like for the most part, like the blue blobs actually blossom. Like it's not land that votes. That's what this
No,
reminds me of. Yeah.
yet our federal government is organized towards land and not population.
Yep.
That's a big thing I'm going to be talking about. Is that in addition to the contextual argument we talked about, the framers just clearly not being interested in religion playing any role in our government. Um, other
Yeah.
than other than perhaps a symbolic one
Sure.
that
Yeah.
that they also oh shoot, where was I, what were we just talking about? Shit.
Land. Um.
Oh, the
Who?
land area. Yeah. So just as the framers couldn't have conceived of, an interdependent global economy, they couldn't have even
Yeah.
conceived of and of like not wanting religion, like in our government. They couldn't have conceived of the country going across the whole goddamn continent.
Yeah.
Like the idea of America growing the way it did and having so few states across so much land, that
Yeah.
also is ridiculous. And they put in, my theory in one of my videos, I talk about it. Fundamentally, they put in the document the process to update it. They knew the times would change,
Yeah.
and they were they were humble. They were actually humble intellectuals. They recognized they empowered us. They wanted us to take control. They wanted us to lead.
Hmm.
They wanted us to take control of our time and write our own
That
write
that's
our own story.
that's another thing that we can actually add to, like an ongoing segment of ours for the future for like every American should know. Just perspectives that the founding fathers we like had in general, or just like tackling one founding father. I think would be very fucking interesting for sure.
Sure. Thunderbird, thank you for the chat. Canada and China own mines all around the world. I have no doubt. Yeah, no, there's no transparency on who owns anything. We got to watch this video on the super rich so that you can understand how they keep their anonymity. It's pretty amazing. But right now, you want to go back to Dr. Phil?
Yeah, let's go ahead and continue.
And then when you look at what's happening at those military installations that they have land around, like B-2 stealth bomber training, drone training, and all, it's very, very troubling.
God, it's so strategic where it's all placed.
Yeah,
Hey, you
if I
pause
can
it
get a
real
hold
quick.
of that map and show it
It's
to
kind
you.
of, it's kind of crazy that the United States has been invaded. And when did that start?
I'm glad I didn't pause. I'm glad I got
No,
that.
I'm glad you didn't either. No, honestly, it's really fucking funny because it's like, okay, let's say that because they go on to talk about just the amount of land that China actually owns in the U.S. And it's even compared to other countries as well. But let's just say like that they are purchasing land, like Chinese oligarchs or even their fucking government or whatever, are purchasing land next to military installations. We have the highest, like, we have the most technologically advanced military in the world. If they bought this land to strategically spy on these installations, we would know before they even fucking knew.
Yeah.
We would.
I really,
yeah.
it's think about risk reward. Come on, guys, it's a modern
Yeah.
economy. I always ask this whenever you're dealing with like an adversary that
Yeah.
a lot of people act like they understand and they really have no idea what they're dealing with. Okay,
No.
start off with this: are the Chinese stupid? Is the Chinese leadership stupid?
Right.
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
Absolutely
No.
not. Absolutely not. The Chinese leadership are very intelligent, informed people. We have different
Big time.
morals. We have
Yeah.
different values. We have different cultures. We always will. And it's a beautiful thing that it's so different. I mean, I really want a diplomat to pull a Nixon and go to China and say
Yeah.
not better or worse, just different.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think that would kill. That would kill because they love our movies. They love our entertainment culture. They
Yeah,
they love our internet, right?
it's
And by
like-
the way, who's that guy Alibaba? What's his name? Benny Han or something like that? Is his name Benny Han
I'm
or
not
Ma
certain.
Nick something Ma? Jack Ma, isn't it?
That does sound familiar.
Yeah, Jack Ma. Anyway, the guy who was basically the eBay of China, and it's like that they didn't come up with that idea. It's like that's an American idea. They just stole the idea,
Yeah.
and now it's a part of their economy.
Yeah. No, for real. It's like, they're like clearly they're smarter than that, and like if like we would literally know if it was being strategized. to
And
spy
that's
on
why they would never do it. That's why they would never do it. Are you
Right.
kidding me? With all
That's-
this, they would
yeah.
never jeopardize our relationship. Is so important to them.
I like
they
this.
So do you know? So hold on. We should pause
Yeah.
here because we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
cut,
yeah,
we can
yeah,
cut
yeah.
this. We can cut this part really well. So let me do
This
something.
will be a whole ass clip. Don't worry. Yeah.
So, do you know what the pivotal moment is in the history of the Chinese economy in the last 45 years? Do you know what they did to really transform their economy into what it is today? The, rock in the pond, so to speak, the inciting
think-
incident, the big bang of their current economy. You know what they did?
I don't know what the catalyst was, but I think it does have to do with them introducing like a more capitalist free market type of infusation, for lack of a better term.
They
It-
devalued their currency. So that they became the least expensive place in the entire world to
Yeah.
manufacture physical products.
Yeah.
And they
Yep.
have
Yep.
merged their state interests with corporate interests with, I guess you could say, individual interests. I mean, the dark red of
Yeah.
China that I really want to see is, what is daily life like? Like, it looks in the cities, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And there's a reason why they consume so much less than we do, and we're a third the size of the population
Yeah.
that they are.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why. Like, that makes me think their quality of life for most Chinese people is not very good. But
Right.
I don't know. It could be everything's really cheap there.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know. But we need more transparency. Like, this is the thing I keep talking about. I don't know. Maybe this, after Survivors versus Explorers, this might be what I'm known for most if I ever break through. But what does the left have that the right doesn't? And there are a lot of things, but the biggest, most important, like, kind of least appreciated thing is creativity. So let's get creative with these solutions. I think creativity is the solution to complexity.
Big
Because
time.
and let's have a cooperative thing with Hollywood desperately wants to be in China and have a more concrete relationship with them.
Yeah.
So let's have one film a year where China gets to use, like, American actors or whatever. It's some kind of special deal where they
Right.
get to use the resources that Hollywood has available that no one else does. So one film a year, or maybe it's a 3-episode, 1-hour series. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, let's get creative and, like, imagine that. Imagine the two cultures creating something together that future generations would look back on, and whether it's good or bad. Like, if it's bad, it's a joke, and it's just still, it wins. If
Yeah.
it's good, then you have something that's like, boom, wow, that was cool. Like, where's the creativity? And even if what I'm saying isn't, like, practical or make any sense to anybody that's listening at this, it's like, it's worth a conversation. And
Right.
that's, like, I'm doing an episode on gun control right now. And I had to look up all the new laws, and it's not that many. It's, voter or not voter ID, but background checks and red
Yeah.
flags, and no bump stocks and
Yeah.
no ARs and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
So do you ever,
And
do you ever do you ever
Go ahead.
watch South Park?
Yeah, I used to. Yeah.
So a few years ago they actually did an episode called Banned in China, and I love it for a multitude of reasons. Like the biggest reason is because a few of the kids start a fucking, like, literal death metal band and play at, like, one like a festival in South Park and whatnot. But what's really funny, like, it ties into this, is Randy Marsh, Stan Marsh's dad.
Yeah, the dad.
He he gathers the family because they now live on a weed farm that he owns, and they grow weed. Um, he gets them together. He's like, I've got this amazing idea to boost our profits, like big time. Apparently, like, I'm going to be going to China. And we're going to tap into the Chinese market, and we're going to make a whole lot of money and whatnot. And then he gets on a plane and heads to China, and he starts talking with the people around him on the plane, and like, apparently they are all also small business owners, and they all have the exact same idea that fucking he has. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to China too because there's a market here for what I do, and this and that. It's like, it gets so cheap.
Well,
It's just like
Lemmings.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the unregulated free market does, is creates currents,
Yeah.
creates trends that everybody has, like, to feed off of, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. I think the predisposition to think in a false binary. Do you want to keep going with this, or
No, yeah. No, of
I mean,
course. I did get a comment on my
Let's park this for a second.
live chat that says from Yumi Trash, don't they already have a program like that in China with American residents? I could have sworn I watched something about it a few weeks ago. I'm not exactly sure what program they're referring to, um, but uh, but yeah, that could be. Not exactly sure, but yeah,
Well, China's a fantastic place. I can't wait to see it.
yeah, and my dad says like, yeah, that's why nothing is really made in America. It's all outsourced to China because it's
Yeah, well, roughly speaking, it's a cocktail napkin analysis of the global economy, right? But
yeah.
intellectual property comes from the U.S., the physical production takes place in China, and the services are rendered in India. Here,
agree.
wait a second.
Yeah. So if we could, there's only just like a little bit left of this.
Um,
Only up until they talk about like the comparison between like how much land China owns compared to other countries, and then we can move on from there. We can move on to other shit after that. So
With the purchase of farmland.
it's been going on.
For how long?
Um,
Like when did this is talking about.
I'll get to you. Trash, don't
Son
worry.
owns 40% of Chinese-owned land in the U.S. He owns over 100,000 acres of land in Valverde County, Texas. Although his two companies, Brazos Highland Properties and Harvest Texas, so through his two companies. His purchases in 2016, 2017, his plans to build a wind farm, as well as his purported ties to Chinese military, drew scrutiny in Texas several years after his acquisitions. He ultimately was denied permission to proceed with his wind farm plans. So they own the land, but they won't let him proceed with the wind farm.
yeah, and they're building a wind farm where it's not very windy. But it does
Yeah.
butt up against a strategic military installment.
What a coincidence. This is the best land that was available.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So-
how would that be possible here under logical laws? Because in China, you can't do that. They're smart. You can't just buy their land.
We absolutely cannot buy farmland there.
No, you can't buy their businesses either.
Now, we had a
I
man
don't even
on
know if that's true.
talking about this, a farmer, and he said they also own the grain elevator where we sell our grain.
And if you're like related to the U.S. government, I think you can maybe do it as a foreign national.
Yeah, like I mean, because a lot,
I don't know.
and that's another thing too. It's like a lot of the farmland that they actually like, a lot of the land that they own here in the United States is used for farming. It's for agriculture and whatnot. So it's like, because a lot of the land that we have here in the United States is actually really ideal for agriculture and whatnot, and that's actually why a lot of other countries buy up some of our land, and because they use it for agriculture as well. I mean, that's basically really all it comes down to.
The Chinese own that. Chinese government owns that. So, and I said Chinese government. Chinese own that. Now, is it the government? Is it a government agent who owns it? He said it's Chinese owned and controlled. If they decide to stop buying his grain, I said, what happens? He said, well,
Fucked this in this country.
yeah.
They've got like 60 more
I'm sorry. Would you be able to
Crops
move
left?
it down to 1.25?
Unless they do something.
About this because I'm not trying. Look, we have so many Chinese.
Yeah, sure. Too hot? Too hot?
Oh, it's just a little choppy. That's all.
These Americans here that are wonderful people that contribute so much. I don't want to say anything to create any animus against these people or Chinese people in general. So many of these people are trying to get away from the Chinese Communist Party. They're just trying to get away from them. How they're getting in, you don't just wake up in China and say, visa, right? You got to get permission to leave. You got family back there. I across
Yeah, it's a little choppy. I
our
know what's up with it.
southern border. Men are showing up at the border, and it's mostly in California where they're showing up, and it's an awful lot. You really,
Wild.
you really have to wonder. You really do have to wonder.
So like
Did you ever think you'd be in?
Yeah, it's conspiratorial, and I deal with psychological issues, but
Yeah. So what the hell are you doing talking about this?
yeah,
Why aren't
it's
you
like,
having a show? Why aren't you having a show and like getting together? Like you have influence. You're a celebrity. You're not only a celebrity, you're an intellectual celebrity.
for real.
You're a rare kind of celebrity, actually. You have some very specific kind of influence and credibility here on such an issue. Maybe you could have a show and talk about this Chinese flow of immigrants through our
Yeah.
southern border. Did you hear about this? I wasn't aware that a bunch of Chinese immigrants were coming through the southern border. Did you know about this?
I did. It's news to me. Like, I mean, and apparently it's a problem. I don't see it, but okay.
But these are issues that are on people's mind now. They're saying, I'm anxious about this. It
Yeah.
bothers me. I feel like my family is under attack here. We don't have the peace of mind that we used to have. We don't have even farmers are saying, this is troubling to us. We don't know what to do about this.
Yeah.
We don't know how to feel about it. We don't know what to say about it. And nobody's
So he implied that he went around and talked to a bunch of farmers about this kind of thing. He like went on a big road
Sure.
trip and like talked to farmers, or like did a video conference with, like he did a webinar. How do you communicate? So this is where a real journalist asks, like, wait, how did you communicate with these people? How did you actually converse with them and come up with this kind of knowledge about their life? How did you? And Rogan isn't a real journalist, so he doesn't ask that question. But
real.
it's like, where are the receipts, dude? You're like, you're in TV, man. Document. If you did that, wouldn't you document it? And of course, any of us would. Any thoughtful person would document
Yeah.
such important conversations, and if they couldn't, or at least have an explanation, like I couldn't get them on TV, I couldn't get them on camera anyway.
Yeah, no
He's
kidding.
talking about this. Well, I'm talking about it.
Well, I'm glad you are, because if not, we'll be talking about it when it's too late, and we'll be saying, "How the fuck did we not see this coming?"
And what I want is, I think if people
I've seen this happen with a lot of Gen Xers. Sorry to keep pausing, but I've seen
You're
this
fine.
happen with a lot of Gen Xers. They are turning into their parents really bad.
Yeah. Like,
will start
I
talking
even
about
like,
it, people will hear us talking about it and say, these aren't crazy conspiracy guys. These are
Go ahead.
No, like, I even argue with a whole bunch
Oh
of
no, are
people.
you behind me?
Just a little bit. I think whenever we have a video going, it cuts into the what's the word? The Oh god, whatever the word is.
Bandwidth?
Yes. So that must be contributing to it. Either way, yeah, no, I even argued with like a whole lot of people in the comments because like they're just like all super convinced that China is just buying all this land to like prepare for invasion and cut off all our food supplies and just cripple the United States and whatnot. And they're about to get into like just actually how big the land they own is, and it's nothing. You go ahead.
I just upgraded my internet, man. This is not making me happy that we're having tech issues.
pretty commonsensical guys that are saying, we should just ask the questions. We should be asking, why isn't anybody asking the questions? And we're not the only people asking the questions, but we're certainly have big microphones to be asking the questions with.
It's just a complete failure. Of
Ask
corporate
him a
media that
question.
They're not asking.
Yeah.
And Joe, like, let's hear this interactions that you had. Let's hear this proof. They had all these dramatic stories. Like, it's like a bad actor. This is bad acting.
Yeah, it's like if
That's
it's,
all this is.
If
Like,
it's
oh,
if it's
man.
really that bad,
Man,
then like
the world is just not what it used to be, man. When we were growing up, what kind of world are these kids growing up in, man?
for real. Go ahead.
No, you're okay. We're separated by at least 7 seconds, I think.
Oh no. You can go ahead.
All right, maybe we should wrap. Yeah, we're off for a while.
Only, let's just at
All right, I'm
least
gonna play it then. Let's get
get
through
up to
it.
the point. Yeah, where
I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, and that is
goes
the
over
entire
land.
that last year 33,000 plus Chinese came across the border illegally. Did you know that? And I just want you to know and do with it as you will. And if it causes you to start asking questions and writing your congressman or asking questions of them, then great. But you ought to at least know this is happening. I don't want you to come up 5 years from now and say, well, nobody ever said anything to me. Well, yeah, they did. I raised my hand and I said it. And maybe it'll cause somebody else to say it and somebody else to say it.
Has anybody had a conversation with you about this that has an opposing perspective?
Oh, of course. I mean,
What is their perspective?
their perspective is these aren't
Good question by Joe.
illegal immigrants. You can't. That's not kind to say they're illegal.
Okay.
Well,
Well, we've always used that term for lack of a better term.
well, okay. So,
Undocumented. What do you want to call them?
well, that's unkind. They're migrants, and I understand they want to be here. I don't begrudge them that. If I was living over there, under an oppressive government like that, I would want to be gone, and I totally get it. I would want to be out of there. I really do. I get that, but
He's
that
just so
doesn't
out of
change
this
the fact
element.
that we have to pretend that we don't know what's going on. We need to be aware of it, and if it means that we need to say, look, this is concerning. We shouldn't be selling farmland around military installations. There's a lot of land to buy. Wonder why they're buying it right up against military installations.
Have any politicians talked about this? Has Trump ever talked about this?
Not that I am aware of.
Why would that not be something he would bring up?
Well, you would certainly think he would.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's talked about the border, but I don't think
Yes.
he's talked about it in depth. Is it possible that he's not aware of it as far as the way you're aware of it?
God, how could he not?
How could he not be? But then again, the guy's got like 5 legal cases going on. He's running for president. He's selling sneakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
See his sneakers?
Okay. Joe's not doing
No, I
pretty
saw
fresh.
that he was
Too bad
I'm getting a
Selling
pair
job
for Tony
here.
Hinchcliffe. They're perfect for
Yeah.
him. They're gold. They're gold sneakers.
So like, they actually
No, Rogan.
they
going.
actually talk here about like actually how much land China owns, and yeah, it's a little it's the buffering is dog shit. But what they talk about here is the fact that China owns 384,000 acres of land in the United States, and in general, especially in comparison to just how much fucking like U.S. farmland there is, it's quite insignificant. Like for like 384,000 acres, that's about 2.5 times larger than the entire New York City area, like all of New York City, and that's really not much at all, especially given how King's Ranch, like King's Ranch, is a notable um, uh, ranch, I guess, in America, and it is much bigger. I think it's like 2 or 3 times bigger than the total land combined that China actually owns in the United States. And what it comes down to is it we would know whether or not they are using this land for nefarious purposes or not, because I mean the Patriot Act, like just how technologically advanced our military is, we would be on any land that they own, like flies on shit, if we had the slightest inkling of a clue that they were using said land for nefarious purposes. And that's all this comes down to.
I agree.
Yeah.
You got like 3 pairs. One's white, one's red. Yeah.
Wow, that's rough.
Hey, stop it, Jamie.
$400, that's like expensive.
Oh, I heard there was 5,000. That's what I think they're already sold out. They're selling them online for $5,000. What is this?
This is this map with the military installations. You got to look at this.
Is it similar to what he just showed?
No.
Jamie just showed where the farmland was.
Yeah,
So
this is different. Look
okay.
at this.
So there's the military.
That's the farmland. There's the military installations on top of it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Look at that. Now, is that...
Look how much farmland they have.
But is that accidental?
Okay. This is another
Come on.
thing. You can go ahead and pause it here.
That's not
Like
random.
It doesn't seem.
Like Dr. Phil right there says, it's not random. Do you know how many bases we have in America, dude? Like, and that seems like really scattershot. Like, there's plenty of land there that's like not near any bases at all. So, is it really strategic? I'm not convinced. I'm really not, especially given just how many bases there are. Hell, I'm within 10 miles of a fucking military base. Like, they're like, and then there's another one like
Yeah, there are
like,
bases everywhere.
Yeah, there's
There's
another
a base
one like
for us down the street.
30 or 40 miles away from me up north. Like, they're fucking everywhere. So like to fearmonger about this is just like it's on brand. Like, Joe Rogan does enough of a job pushing back, but like like clearly this is not something to like worry about. Like, it's not. And I argue with so many people in this comment section on this video about it. It's just like, it's insignificant. It's not something to worry about. China's not planning for invasion. They're not going to cut off our food supply. They don't have enough land to do that, or the means to do that, or nor do they plan to do that, or would even bother to do that, because they're our biggest trading bloc, and we see each other as a valuable asset, and we don't want to disrupt that in any way. Like, it's that simple. That's all it comes down to.
It seemed too random, but it also seems amazing how much farmland they have.
Yeah.
Was this always legal? Is that the part of the problem with our open society?
Honestly,
that any foreign
we
country can come over
actually-
here, any foreign
we
investor
could
can come
probably
over here
move to the next
and buy
video
land?
if you want. Yeah, that's basically the gist of this.
I don't know, man. I think we're, yeah, okay. I think, hold on one second. Yeah. So, do you understand? I think we should probably wrap it up soon. I think we'll finish with
Sure.
this.
Sure.
Do you understand the narcissistic appeal of conspiracy theories?
Yeah, it basically all it comes down to, like, you want to be special. You want to know something that others don't. You want to feel like you're right about something, and so you latch onto it, and it just feels superior.
It's not that complicated, is it? It's
No.
actually something that your intuition. That's actually the tragedy of Joe Rogan, is that he actually did derive a lot of developed intelligence just by reasoning his way through and researching and listening to smart people and stuff. There was a time when he was like actually evolving as a human being, but then he started to just believe his own press or something, and everybody started to worship the ground he walked on. And now he just is like, oh man, the world is going to end. I'm so special because I called it. I called it, man. It's like I called overtime this year in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like I used to watch him too. Like his older episodes, there's a distinct difference for sure. Like I completely agree with you. Like it's he's definitely not what he used to be.
Well, anyway, any parting thoughts, or we should probably wrap it up here with this. Quit while we're behind with this delay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't even know what the deal with that is. Like I don't know what it is about like having YouTube going and just reacting to it that just like fucks with their bandwidth. But I mean, whatever, you know.
Well, this is prime time for internet usage. This is prime time for internet usage on the daily hours, like 8:45 on the West Coast or 8:30 on the West Coast. This is everyone's on Netflix right now.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that's pretty much it. Uh I do look forward to our stream next week. I should be available on Monday, like with no issues whatsoever, so we can do another one then. If we want to tackle
Cool.
more of uh, what what's his face, fucking uh,
All right,
the
yeah, we'll do housekeeping afterwards. We'll do housekeeping
yeah
afterwards.
yeah
Say good night, State.
sure yeah.
I'm gonna end it.
I do have something I want to send you that I think the audience will like for next Monday. Yeah. Thanks to everybody that was tuning in. Like, wow, my dad actually not only tuned in, but he engaged with us as well. Like, it was really cool. He left a little early, but yeah, it means a whole lot. We'll see everybody next week.
Night, y'all. Have a good one. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks a bunch, dude. I'll see you soon.
Don't hang up.